Happy holidays. Happy New Year, everyone. Today, we're taking a look back at some of the most compelling Chad and Lori Daybell segments of 2023 here on the Hidden Killers podcast.
This is the Hidden Killers podcast with Tony Brueski,
featuring former FBI Special Agent and Chief of the Counterintelligence Behavioral Analysis Program, Robin Dreeke.
The jury itself going to be picked again from Ada County. We're talking the same place where everything took place for Lori not that long ago. They're expecting about a 2-week period before the trial to give it ample time to find jurors. And let's just start there. I mean, obviously, this is already a huge circus in round number 1. And here we have, it's round number 2, which seems to be not even just a sequel, but very much the same energy and intensity of this initial trial, because it's a whole other conspirator, if you will, that's going to be going up there and being tried. Do you anticipate this to be just as much of a circus, more of a circus? What do you think we're going to be seeing here once Chad enters the courthouse?
Well, if they allow media in there, I think it'll be more of a circus. I think what will cause a circus-like environment really depends on the defense and how if they start really making it all about placing all the blame on Lori, I think it can be very circus-like. Instead of trying to defend his actions, trying to place it all on her, I think that's going to be the real crux. And I think I'm really interested as to why death penalty for him and not her, because I think it makes it more compelling to save his life and using that tactic. I mean, I think he's got a high probability of not getting death on this one, just because, we don't know what we don't know, from what defense and prosecutors will put forth. But I think they're going to make him out to be the dupe.
It's interesting because Lori, during her trial, they talked so much, and I want to get to the death penalty in a second too. They talked so much about the fantastical nature of her belief systems and really made that the crux of the trial, and almost in an indirect, passive-aggressive way saying, yes, she's crazy. Like, we can't say she's crazy. We can't release it as a defense, but she's kind of crazy, and this is what she believes. Do you think they're going to go down that same road with Chad, with the belief system and the fantastical extremeness of it, or more on the, I guess, more of a tactical, realistic, real-life side of things, of where bodies were buried, where Chad was at what time, and how he could or could not have been part of the actual carrying out of these crimes?
Yeah, I think it's pretty established, especially with the DNA that, again, we don't know, because her DNA was definitely linked to it. I think it's going to be easier to say that I think they're not going to go at he wasn't there, he wasn't present. It was just that he was manipulated by her. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that's the really easier one, because his life seems to be, granted, it might be, I haven't read his books, but it might be more extreme than mainstream when it comes to his philosophy of religion and life. Mm-hmm. But it definitely wasn't to her extreme, as we're seeing. Yeah. At least it doesn't seem that way on the surface. And I think that might be it. I mean, she was definitely charismatic, and she was charismatic towards him, which guided him down a new path that kind of, sparked something that changed his behavior. That, I just see it as they're two different characters. And I think kind of fumbling for words on this one, but I just don't. It's just really interesting. I don't think it's going to be quite the same as it was for her, because he's just not that insane. I think he's fallen in love with his own voice, but he's not crazy like she's crazy.
Does that make it more, I mean, obviously she was found guilty and we know how crazy she is, but does that make it more damning for him than to, be a character that's presented as being more sane and then capable of doing this? With Lori, I still think you could have almost made the argument, had Idaho had some sort of insanity defense, I think that Lori could have probably easily gotten that. Chad, not so much. And with the death penalty here on the table, it is expected to take longer than other trials, just because it's a little bit more intricate. We are talking about someone's life. In any way, shape, or form, do you see any way where Chad is going to be able to argue his way out of this for either getting death off the table, a lesser sentence, or obviously their ultimate goal of trying to defend him, getting acquitted for these crimes.
I definitely don't see it being acquitted. I don't know how the laws in Idaho work with death penalty compared to life behind bars and all that. But I mean, he's definitely guilty. Mm-hmm. I don't say that loosely because, again, he hasn't been to trial yet. But I mean, he's tied to her and she was found guilty. So it'll really be interesting how the court system works it. If they don't get death, does he still stand his life behind bars? That's a big question in my mind, because that's an easier level to prove. And then going for the death penalty, I think, death penalty is really hard on some people. And that's why the jury selection is going to be really critical for prosecution and defense on this, because that's a tall order for a lot of people. But when you have children that have been murdered, it's an easier bar, I think, for people to come to. But again, it's still a tall order for many people.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Want to listen ad-free? Want advanced access to all of our interviews before anyone else?
Become a True Crime Today Premium Plus subscriber on Apple Podcasts.
You get every episode commercial-free,
so you can binge on true crime
until you can binge no more.
Search True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts now, or go to our podcast page and sign up now.
More of the Hidden Killers podcast next.